Welcome, everybody, to the Scott and Carl Show. It's Season 3. It's Episode 2. A lot of people thought this wasn't even going to happen again. I think it's been a month since we were last in your ears. And we're just barely on YouTube now. So, Carl, did you watch the YouTube upload of our last episode?
I did not even know we were on YouTube.
I emailed you. I said, it's your birthday. I'm going to work on this thing. I'm going to get it up. By the way, belated happy birthday from me and all of our listeners.
I do remember that email, but in my defense, I was scraping and painting a house. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, and put it back in my pocket. Sorry about that.
I assume that when I email, I get your full undivided attention from top to bottom of the whole text.
I think you should deliver it in person.
There are important things in the word choice. I carefully thought about the words, the punctuation, very purposeful.
It's because I'm a grammar Nazi.
Yep. I know you'll get after me. Well, you and our listeners might be interested to know that our first upload, if you want to visually just see that last episode, Richmond, west of Richland Springs, where we covered.
It was a hit.
It was a good episode.
I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that episode.
Tell me about it. I love positive feedback. What are you hearing out there in the streets?
Everybody I've talked to has just like this is a great episode. Even the wife, who her exact words were, I'd never listened to y'all's show, and she was recommending other people to listen to it because it was such a good episode.
Oh, we have a lot to live up to today, don't we?
I'm telling you. I've heard from a buddy of mine up in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, he was impressed with it. He really liked it and enjoyed it. So,
well, dang, I'm gonna have to check the listens and see if we're just blowing up.
We need to be.
It's available visually. I'm looking to see what on YouTube we're at Scott Carl Show.
Okay.
You know how everything is abbreviated?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, everybody can find us at Scott Carl Show on YouTube, and I'm going to try to post these things. And if they get any views, we'll just keep posting them. But I'll tell you, that thing is a 2-hour episode almost, and I forgot how long it takes to export these videos of 2-hour length. Audio, it's done in maybe 5 minutes. Video really taxes that computer. But our listeners aren't that interested in the nuts and bolts of video exporting. They came here for Scott from California and Carl from Central Texas to talk about the world, to find common ground, to help our fellow man and woman and everyone in between to come to, not agreement, but just being cordial with each other, being less divisive, being a little more empathetic, seeing a little more nuance in the issues. Is that what was appreciated about the last episode, or what specifically? Should we just do music reviews every time?
I'm going to go with, I believe it was the music, but I also believe, to me, what made me enjoy it, I mean, we broke down every single line in that song and gave our opinions on it. And I think that's a good way to debate. I think that's a good way to get other people, that do listen to it, like, to put forth their opinions. And now that we're up on YouTube, I look forward to hopefully getting some comments on their opinions and even their suggestions.
Yeah.
What do y'all want us to debate over next?
I would love to hear that if everybody wants to let us know on YouTube or in whatever podcast format you listen to us on. Today, we don't have a song, though. We were thinking today, Carl, you just brought to my attention some breaking news. Later on, I want to get to the Republican primary a little bit. My governor, Gavin Newsom, was on Hannity, and they were having an interesting little back and forth because I know California always gets dogged on by the right. I feel like we're always under attack. The right a lot of
As
times
should be.
says they're always under attack. You know what? I hear California mentioned a lot
Well, it's
on the right in their pointing fingers.
and I agree with you, but it's for good reason.
Well, my grandpa, when I talk to him, he's like, "Are you okay out there?" Because I think it's just perceived that we're just constantly on fire and every store is getting looted and it's nothing but homeless people on the street and the ultra elite, which honestly, there are a lot of homeless. There are a lot of ultra elite. But it's not the hellhole maybe that it's perceived. But we'll get to all that, I think, because Gavin's talking to Hannity about that. Then there's Biden's record and Trump's record, which I think will be more interesting as we get closer to the 2024 election. And then, of course, sports talk, because everybody comes to Scott and Carl to hear about the Texas Longhorns, football season in full swing, and a little bit of Dodgers baseball. And Carl's got the Rangers game on as we record, because he's, you can't keep him just focused on one thing, even if it's an email that you sent. Carl's got to have a little distraction in the background.
I need Adderall. Like, I'm pretty sure Adderall would fix me. I just don't go to the doctor. So if we have any doctors listening that just want to, prescribe me some Adderall.
Yeah, well, thanks to that border wall that completely cut down on all of the illegal immigration, you can't get your off-market Adderall anymore.
Well, I like to do things the legal way.
Well, be careful, but if you do decide to go on any medication, I hope we can document it on this show, so listeners can notice any side effects and keep track of them. But in the meantime, as soon as we got on, Carl, you said there's breaking news, and it's rare that we have breaking news in, I don't know, any arena, but this is politically, which I guess is sort of what this podcast hovers around. Cultural and political issues from quote unquote both sides, when I don't know, I consider us to all be kind of on the same side. We just have different ways of getting around to it and different focuses. But what's the breaking news?
The breaking news is, in a historic vote, the House has voted and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is ousted from his leadership role.
Oh, man. And I got to tell you, how do you feel about that? Because right after that, you said...
right after that, when I told you the breaking news, you said, well, let's get your opinion on it. And I said, I don't have one because I didn't even know who he was. I've kind of turned politics off for a while, but I'm going to have to do some research, and I'm sure you've already done it. You can help me out with this. Because if Nancy Pelosi was never ousted, what in the hell did this dude do to get thrown out? Like, it had to have been horrible, because she was an absolute embarrassment.
Well, I guess we could do an episode on Pelosi. I mean, there were things that Democrats disagreed with Pelosi on, but overall, she was effective. Like, you can say all you want about people getting older, and I do think she's lost a step from, 10 years ago or something. But Nancy Pelosi knows how to keep her
10 years
caucus.
ago, she was in her 90s. So,
Well, I don't know if you're aware that this was not the Democrats doing. This is intra-party squabbling.
Sure, absolutely.
So, yeah, Democrats just sat on the sideline and said, y'all figure this out. And the Republicans ousted their own speaker. So the reason this didn't happen to Nancy Pelosi is because when, the far left squad and some other, members got elected and said, hey, you guys are way too centrist. You're being too moderate. What we really need to do is move this country left. We need to do all of these socialist programs and fight the evils of capitalism. Nancy Pelosi said, yeah. Okay, I hear you. But also, that's not the majority opinion of the country. And if we do that, we're all going to lose our jobs. So I know that the right points at Nancy Pelosi as being this crazy liberal that's as far to the left as you can get. And she does represent the district in San Francisco. So in some ways she should be. But she was really a moderating force and didn't move things too far to the left because some members demanded it. I think what Kevin McCarthy, he was trying to do the same thing. He's got some moderate Republicans. He also has some far right Republicans, and some Republicans who I don't even know what their policies are, but they just want to fight. Like Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of these ones that are always in the news that just seem to want to throw want to throw fireballs. And I don't know, Matt Gaetz could not keep his speakership the way that Nancy Pelosi could keep hers. The job of being a speaker is really, I think, corralling all of your members and keeping you guys on the same page and trying to get an agenda passed to do something for the country. And I think Kevin McCarthy's really struggled with a certain wing of his party.
Well, and I think a big part of it could go to just where we're at in general today. You know, the whole everybody wants it my way, and whatever their way is, it doesn't matter. There's no common ground. It's got to be my way or the highway. Everybody else is wrong. Instead of having that common ground where the speaker, it should be give and take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, compromise, working with each other for common goals. For
the better of the country, but yet it's more of a political agenda, more of a more selfish agenda. Everybody's just out to get their own versus worrying about the constituents that put them in that position to begin with.
Yeah. And it's an interesting balance because I'm sure some of the new members come in thinking that, well, they're representing those constituents. They say, I just got elected by people. Let's take like an AOC or a Lauren Boebert, for example. And they said, well, my constituents were really mad, and enough to where they said, let's swing things hard in this other direction. And my job, it was told to me, is to go into Congress and kick butt. And I think those two people have taken very different approaches. Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, and like I said, Marjorie Taylor. I think that this is coming from my perspective. As you can, our YouTube viewers can see, there's the Golden Gate Bridge behind me. This is from the liberal coastal elite perspective. I think that they've been much more talking on the news and less getting an agenda that actually reflects what their constituents wanted, unless their constituents really did just want them to yell a bunch. AOC, I think, negotiated with Nancy Pelosi, got a little bit further to the left, got some, more social programs, a little more green energy deal here and there. Get what you can while still working with everybody around you. You can't pass something without Joe Manchin in West Virginia. So let's remember, it can't be too far, but they probably both, a new member comes to Congress and doesn't want to become part of the machine or become part of the swamp. If you tell people you're going to go drain it, then what happens if you work with the swamp to pass legislation to help your constituents? Are you part of it now?
Sure. And sadly, that's what people think. But I mean, I think it just goes to, if you look at politicians today, the Trumps or the AOCs or the Bidens, or, their followers, they're like people that just hang on to every single word that they say, are under that impression that, oh, I can just go to Washington, or this person, we can get him in, he can go to Washington, he can fix everything. And it's not how it works. It's like I said earlier, there is a give and a take, and people just aren't willing to give. It's just a take society right now.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sadly, Sarah's going to be proud of this. Much like the Roman Empire, we're going to see the fall of the American Empire.
Sarah's going to be happy because that's what Pluto said, and she follows astrology.
Well, I don't know. She just asked me the other day how often I actually thought about the Roman Empire. I never realized I did it, but I actually thought on it when she asked me that, and I'm like, holy shit. I think about it a lot more than I realize.
It was a TikTok meme where apparently guys think about the Roman Empire more than women. I think it goes back to philosophy. We have this, all of the great debates and the Greek philosophers. And of course, I guess chariot races and
the gladiators for me.
Colosseums and that sort of stuff. I guess there's a lot of stuff to.
Every time I order a Caesar salad, I think about the gladiators and the Colosseum.
And I think this is just what they were eating as they were sitting there watching everybody with their swords beat each other up, blood sport for pleasure. They were just munching on those Caesar salads.
Come on, wait staff, give me some entertainment.
Yeah, a little more cracked pepper on that Caesar. Thank you. So, yeah, you were saying about not being so extreme. Oh, what I thought was funny is you said, like, you've got the AOCs and you've got the Trumps and the Bidens where people are hanging on their every word. And I just have to laugh because I don't think there's anybody, either party, that is hanging on Biden's every word.
Well, you can't, because none of it makes sense.
Because you'll be waiting a while. We're not pretending like he's not an elderly man. I think Democrats don't they're not like fanboys of Joe Biden. I rarely see Biden stickers or hats or, all of the Trump merchandise that I see, even out here. Joe Biden supporters are not like that. No. I guess I would paint myself as a Joe Biden supporter, but it's more of just, he's the best candidate that the best option. When you look at who are the options between, last election, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, he seems like he was the better option. And I'm not hanging on his every word or going and buying a Biden t-shirt and putting a Biden sign in my yard after the election.
Let me touch on this. He is an elderly man. Do you feel that the vice president is suitable to run this country?
Better than... That's the same thing as we talk about candidates like they got to be perfect.
Well, no, they don't have to be perfect, but they have to be existent.
Yeah, I do wonder.
Non-existent.
Supposedly, she does a lot of events. It's just nobody covers it and nobody's interested in watching it. And I get that. I mean, the vice president doesn't have a lot of power, I guess.
But we knew everything about Dick Cheney and everything that Dick Cheney did.
I think Dick Cheney literally ran the White House. When W got elected, I think even Republicans would say, yeah, they got Dick Cheney, so there was somebody to actually do all the stuff while W was out there. Wasn't that when Donald Trump even ran, they were saying they were vetting people to get the vice president. And one of the people said that, when they were asking, what am I going to get to work on? They were like, yeah, you're going to be in charge of foreign policy. You're going to be in charge of healthcare, securing the border, this and this. And they were like, well, what's Trump going to be working on? He's going to be making America great again, that's what he's going to be focused on. So you have the behind the scenes person who's doing all the work. And then you have the person in front of the camera who gets everybody fired up, I guess. So is Biden getting people fired up? No. I don't know. I think Biden is the behind the scenes kind of guy. I think in small meetings and in decision making, that's in a lot of presidential roles, he's fine. But I don't think he's up for campaigning as much, especially as much as he did 4 years ago. But even then, he didn't have to do it too much because we were in the middle of a pandemic. So he kind of got to breeze by. But that I have a soft spot for Kamala too, because I saw her on the hiking trail out here. Yeah.
Still don't think she's fit to run this country.
She was pretty fit on the hiking trail. I'll tell you that.
That's about the only place she's fit. Because she has about as much common sense as the trees that y'all were hiking out there with.
What is it that she has said or done, I guess?
She's just clueless. It's like with the whole border. There's no border crisis. Bullshit. There's a border crisis. It's just because you don't want to admit it because it'll make your party look bad. because y'all are denying. It's like she has no sense. She's a puppet, more or less.
Okay.
She doesn't seem to think for herself or speak for herself.
Yeah, she's it's hard to judge because I really don't hear much from her. You know, the most I remember hearing from her was when she was running for president. And it's funny because we didn't have like Kamala on our little list of agenda, but I think she has a lot of the same problems that Hillary had, where they don't seem relatable in a campaigning format.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're both very smart. I think they're both, I don't know necessarily about Kamala as being her knowledge of international affairs or anything, but I do know Hillary had served as Secretary of State and had a very smart woman. Say what you will about whether or not you felt she was relatable or whatever other critiques are out there.
I don't necessarily think she was relatable, but I will give it to Hillary as far as, yes, she is a brilliant woman. She obviously, the Clintons have been in the business for years. So she knew how to play the game and she knew what she was doing and she knew how the game worked. So that I admire her for it. I mean, I just don't think she was the right fit for the country.
Yeah, it's hard to run.
She'd already served 8 years as president.
Because when Bill was president, he wasn't really president.
It was her.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you've heard the man talk. He sounds like George W.
I think Bill, I'm not going to call W. I'm not here to put down W.
I love W, but he was something else.
Yeah. I think Bill Clinton knew a bit more about governing than W did. I know we're going to turn off some listeners for that. The one interesting thing that I've heard about Bill Clinton is that he remembers everybody's name. Like there are just certain abilities that people have. And I just on a podcast recently, they said there was this guy working at a hotel. He was the hotel manager when Bill Clinton was in town and was staying there, and he met the manager. And then like 3 years later or something, they called this guy from this hotel to a different hotel, like on a different island. I think this was in the Caribbean or something. And Bill Clinton happens to be there. And he runs into this guy and he says, "I thought you were the guy from this other place, like from this other hotel. What are you doing here?" And I was like, what?
I can't even get that kind of acknowledgement from my wife.
There's some skills that I don't know, it's just hard to explain why certain people are just so good at things like that. But that's useful for a politician because you have to walk into a room and make every single person feel special.
Right.
And feel heard. And so much of that is about what turns on voters is for a voter to feel heard.
And that will make them feel special every time.
Yeah. And I don't know, to your point earlier, that that's what Kamala is able to do when she's talking to a crowd, or that Hillary was able to do. I've heard Hillary's good in small groups, building consensus in small rooms, but on a big stage campaigning, well, obviously, I don't know. Yeah, she got more votes, but no, she didn't win the election. So speaking of candidates maybe today, as opposed to these candidates of the past, we got a little primary going on the Republican side. You've given me a little bit of the impression that you've watched at least the first debate. Did you watch the second one?
No, I watched a lot of the highlights of the first debate. I didn't touch the second one. I remember seeing that it was on. I don't even know what night that was, but I had something going on. So,
what was it that led you to not feel the need to watch the second debate?
Because I think it's all a crock of shit. You know as well as I do, these debates do not mean anything. Trump's going to get the nomination, unfortunately. He's not my pick. And that's, of course, in this area, that's going to piss a lot of people off, but he's not. I think he had the potential to be a great president, and I think he was a very good president. I just think he's a shitty human being. And therefore, if you're a shitty human being, you don't have my vote.
Because that can trickle down into the actions that you take as president.
Well, it's just, I think him being a shitty human being and the selfishness of society today is what has led to the downfall of, or to where we're at, all the divisiveness here. Everything the man said, whether it was politically correct or not, was just torn apart and offended somebody and or canceled somebody. And I'm over that culture. If we have to go back to that and I have to put up with that for another 4 years, I'm going to go insane.
So that's interesting that Trump brought on cancel culture.
I think he had a role in it because of the selfishness and the selfishness of our society today, where if I don't agree with what you're saying, so I'm going to be offended. And if I get offended, well, then I can get on social media and I know I'm not the only one. And let's find this whole huge group that's offended by something you said. And let's cancel you. And another story, and this is sports related, but it's not about sports per se. The Trevor Bauer incident with this whole Me Too movement.
You got to tell me who Trevor Bauer is.
Well, he was a pitcher for the Dodgers when he got suspended for 300 games for violating the domestic abuse rules or whatever they are in baseball. Appealed it, got it knocked down to 190-something game suspension, and he was never convicted. He was accused of hitting and choking this woman while they were having sex in San Diego. And all of a sudden, it was either yesterday, I think, they settled. Didn't cost him a dime to settle, but he lost all of that time playing baseball, lost all of that money, because the reason they settled, his lawyers finally got the proof of her making videos and texting with friends about how she was going to set him up to extort money from him.
No way. Really?
Yes. And, it's just, that's the kind of society we got into, to where you're no longer innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until proven innocent. And unfortunately, this cost this man 2 years of his career. Lord knows what his salary was. It's just, and as a pro athlete, 2 years is a lot, especially in baseball.
Yeah, that's the big fear, I think, with any accusation, is that it's not credible.
Yeah, to circle back to where do I think Trump is responsible for the cancel culture? I think Trump or anybody, and it's sad that it's come to this, but pretty much anybody that speaks their mind but speaks it in a way knowing that it's going to piss people off, or to use hate or anything negative in their speech that they know it's going to offend somebody, it's partly responsible. So I don't put the whole blame on Trump or the people that do that. I put the blame on both sides. I'm going to give it 50-50. I'm right down the middle on that. And me personally, I don't care if I offend anybody. If I offend you, grow a thicker skin. We grew up in a generation where, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I guess we've sort of talked a little bit about cancel culture before. It's such a gray area of being offended what does that mean? Like if you get on Twitter and you complain about something that somebody said, is that trying to cancel them, or is that just complaining about something somebody said? And if there are enough of them and they say like, I don't like this person, I'm not going to watch them anymore, or I'm not going to go to Burger King because Burger King supports gay marriage, or whatever group decides to try and cancel another group, is that people voicing their opinions like democratically, that they're able to do that in a free country, and then it's on the company to decide, do they want to fire this person because a group of Twitter people are upset with them?
Yes. And I think it got to that point to where people were losing their jobs because of something that they voiced their opinion on social media. So the companies that these people work for knew they were going to get backlash when all these people picked it up and ran with it and tried to boycott their company. So they took action. Oh, well, Betty Sue said this, so we got rid of her. So don't boycott us. We don't agree with that.
But I mean, at what point is that cancel culture, and at what point is that just a company following their best business interests? And in some cases, canning an employee unjustifiably. Like just because somebody has a few people angry at them, you're going to fire your employee? Like, is that how little you care about your employee? Or they've done the calculation and they've decided this employee isn't as valuable.
In this world today, yes. I mean, there's not very many companies around that value the employee. Employees are just numbers. You go to these corporations, you're just a number. You're replaceable. And I've been in places where I've heard them tell employees that, oh, if you don't want to work here, leave. I'll find somebody else to do it.
I mean, back to our previous episode where I think that's one of the things in the Oliver Anthony song they're talking about. When you're just working and you don't make enough money to make ends meet. And it's almost by design that Carl has to get up and take a little break while Scott is left trying to just talk to himself.
Falls back. I had to move 7 feet.
Yeah, I think, we can obviously unpack cancel culture. I don't think it's as clear cut. And so when people say they're against cancel culture, sometimes it's like, well, the same people that I see say they hate cancel culture also complain a lot about cancel culture on Twitter and online and all sorts of other places. And that's exactly what you don't want the other side to do, is complain in all these same places about what you're saying. And so whether, if you're just calling it cancel culture to negate it or to minimize it versus these are people with opinions. Why don't you can address their opinions, or you can also ignore them. If your boss fires you because enough people are mad at you, I mean, your boss didn't value you that much to begin with. I mean, that's kind of on them. It's also apparently you were pretty disposable at your company. A lot of these people seem to do better after they're quote unquote canceled, because then they wear it like a badge of honor and they say, see, they'll actually find people that are mad at them and hold those people up and say, see it, all these people that are mad at me, I am being canceled. And that's when they start booking more speaking gigs and selling more books. And I mean, in Trump's case, like, he's indicted with all these indictments, and that's when his poll numbers go up, because people like someone who's under attack.
Well, let's say something outlandish and do a book tour.
I don't know. Yeah, we got to thread that needle. Say something just outlandish enough to get attention, but not so. News. Breaking news is a sports score.
Texas Rangers take game 1 over the Tampa Bay Devil Rays 4-0.
All right, everybody, you come here for the sports stats up to the minute breaking news. Although this will be uploaded hours from now.
It's the thought that counts.
This probably won't hit YouTube until they're already in game 3.
Yeah, but that team that plays behind you over there, yeah, they're not in the playoffs.
The Giants, the San Francisco Giants, they didn't have an LA background on Zoom, so I do have the Golden Gate behind me. I was actually an Oakland A's fan growing up. Okay. It's all about the Bash brothers, Mark McGwire, Jose Canseco.
Oh yeah.
We had Ricky Henderson on that team.
I know we just, as we do a lot, go off topic. So were you out there during the World Series during the big earthquake?
Yeah, I was on a ranch in Central California, and I was watching that Battle of the Bay, the Oakland A's versus the San Francisco Giants, and the San Andreas Fault went right through our ranch.
Oh,
literally on the property is where the fault line is. There's a fence, and that fence there's two fences. I mean, it's going straight, and then there's a little jog from one end of one fence to the next because it keeps shifting over years. And I don't know how you deal with that property issue with your neighbor. This is my land now. But yeah, that was a great World Series. I think the A's won that one.
I believe so.
Anyway, boy, Giants had a good end of the mid 2000s though, or end of 2000s.
Yeah, they swept our Rangers.
Anyway, who you like in this Republican primary? Has anybody been canceled enough?
Vivek's my man.
Is it Vivek? I've heard Vivek a lot.
I'm from West Texas. I say Vivek.
Okay. You know what? A good politician will say, you say it however you want.
Right. No, we need to reach out to him. Maybe we can get him on the pod.
I heard he's doing any show that reaches out to him.
Really?
Which is something that, I mean, not literally any show, but
I have nothing but time on my hands for the next few days. So
yeah, I heard him on Bill Maher's podcast, and he was saying that Vivek is just constantly.
He's done old Bills. I mean, surely he'll do Scott and Carl.
Right? I mean, we have listeners, and Bill has listeners.
Credentials than Bill Maher.
I mean, twice as many credentials. There's twice as many hosts.
Right. And we don't wear makeup.
And we don't get incredibly stoned while we're doing the interview.
And we wear Texas Longhorn gear.
Yeah, that's only going to work for a small demographic of the listeners. So what do you like about Vivek Ramaswamy? That was I think last episode, or the first time we talked about the first debate, I said, I bet I know who you liked.
Well,
and it was Ramaswamy.
Just from my opinion and watching him and listening to him and his little campaign speeches, he just brings back, and obviously I don't know because I wasn't there, but like politics should be. He reminds me of a politician running for office, back in the 40s or the 50s or the 60s before it started getting, he just seems good and wholesome, and seems like he cares about the making America better. And I mean, he's come out and said he wants to work with Democrats. He understands that you have to work with Democrats. He sounds to me almost like a Republican version of Bill Clinton.
I mean, I remember Trump saying he was going to work with Democrats, but also Democrats were evil devil, or all satanic and child molesters and everything else. But I will work with them to.
I don't know. I just there's something about him that I really, really do. I like, and I think for that reason, for what he talks about will be good for the country. And I think what will be good for the country too is it's not another rich white man. I mean,
so you're voting on identity politics.
No. What I'm saying is this is somebody that's not a rich white man that was, like, you look at W. W didn't earn his wealth. His daddy earned that wealth. Trump didn't earn his wealth. His daddy earned that wealth. Vivek has lived the American dream. His parents immigrated. He worked his tail off in school, went to college, got his degree. I believe he went to Harvard, right? No.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he grew up with nothing.
No, but he didn't grow up elite.
I mean, well, yeah, we'd have to check what
He went to the same school that I went to.
Harvard. You guys both went to Harvard?
I went to Harvard. Now, I didn't say I went to school there, but I went to Harvard and MIT. That's my claim to my schooling.
Yeah. I mean, Vivek.
A few steps that JFK stood on.
Vivek definitely made a lot of money after college. Sure. I don't know. I don't think he grew up in anything close to poverty.
No.
Which was interesting. When you sent me that video of him critiquing Eminem and saying, like, I'm the real Eminem. I'm the one who gets to, like, rap about rags to riches. I don't like I don't like someone singing someone else's song and telling the original artist that they've lost their way. I'm the one who really speaks for the people. You were wrong to tell me I can't use your song anymore. Yeah, to me, that little bit of beef is, I think taking the higher road would have been, hey, sorry. Didn't realize that you didn't want me to use your song. Cool. Not, I pray for your soul and for you to return to being who you used to be, Eminem. And I think that there's this smile that Vivek does on the surface, but sometimes it's just cutting somebody, which I guess is something a politician has to do. But, you know, I sort of had a different reaction just from hearing him. I get the appeal. He's very smooth.
I just think, for me personally, I don't want Trump. Damn sure don't want DeSantis. So I'm all in on this guy.
So you're looking at these at the candidates right now. What if you had a 1 to 10, 1 being not in a million years you would campaign against them hard regardless of who they were running against. This person never is a 1. 10, all in, love this person, nothing could change my mind. 5 is like I'm a swing voter. I could maybe go either way.
I'll put a 5 on just about every one of them because I'm never going to be all in. You can't change my mind. Mm-hmm. Trump would be about a 2 because as much as I would do it, but at the same time would hate it, run against him and campaign against him, is because that man is brutal to his opponents. And you've got to be a pretty tough individual mentally to withstand that.
Yeah. I don't mean you personally running against him. I meant that you would campaign for whoever he's running against, that you would actively get involved in trying to defeat somebody who's at a 1.
Yeah, I don't want Trump in office again. Yeah. I would absolutely campaign against him.
Even if it's...
I don't care how many people that pisses off. I mean...
Let's run some hypotheticals. It's Trump versus Biden again.
Oh, shit.
I mean, that's the most likely outcome.
It is. I don't think... If this country goes through another 4 years of what we've been in since Biden's been in office... it's going to be insane. I mean, just the price of groceries, the price of gas, it's something needs to give. You get the debate all the time, are we in a recession? No, we're in a depression. And there's no way anybody's going to make me believe we're not in a depression. It's horrible.
What?
So in that instance... Economically, see, that's what tears me up with Trump. He was a good president. He had the opportunity to do a lot of great things, and I think he did a lot of good things. He had the economy going in the right direction. He just can't keep his damn mouth shut. And he needs to learn how to keep his mouth shut. If he can learn how to keep his mouth shut, I'd be all in on him.
So I'm looking at GDP growth over time. I just brought up a little chart. We like to do stats here. The economy under Trump was, I mean, I guess we could say stable, but it's not growing by leaps and bounds. It's
but
like
it's not stable now. That's what
it's
I'm
like
saying.
so 2016. Well, he wasn't in office 2016, but it did go down 1% GDP growth in 2016. 2017 up 0.5%. 2018 up 0.7%. 2019 down 0.7%. And then, of course, COVID hits, and you can argue that a different president would have handled COVID better, but GDP growth went down 5%. Or wait, annual change went down 5%. The growth rate went down 2.7. Now, you could say Biden just inherited, I mean, by the numbers, a terrible economy. You can blame it on COVID, you can blame it on Trump. But in 2021, it shoots up 8.7%. Now, when the economy gets hot like that, you know what else happens? In addition to there being supply chain issues, people are really excited. They've got all this money and they want to spend it on goods. And we're having trouble getting the goods to the stores because everything was just shut down for about a year. So we can't get the goods. So naturally, in a capitalist society, that drives the prices up. You're like, I really want the sofa. Well, we can't get 100 sofas to the store. We can only get 20. Okay,
Right.
well, I'm willing to pay double, or the prices reflect a shortage. And so when they're talking about supply chain issues affecting inflation, I think that's legit. You can lay some of it on the president, sure, but I think a lot of it is the pandemic, gas prices, of course. You remember when they were negative? Well, not negative at the pump, but like
a barrel of gallon was in the negative. I remember because that's when my company shut down and laid everybody off.
Right. So, I mean, that was Trump. Like that was in the pandemic and that was like he was the president. And when we're praising him for low gas prices, it also had to do with just the fact that there was no demand for gas at that time. They were literally shutting down drilling. As you said firsthand, companies were stopping drilling because it wasn't worth it to keep extract. Not all drilling stopped, obviously.
No, some of it did continue on, but I think when it comes to the oil talk and the drilling and the gas, that frustrates the majority of us is Trump is about drilling here and drilling, that was his deal. Drill here, drill now, drill here. The left always wants to just purchase it from Saudi Arabia or somewhere else. They don't want to boost up our manufacturing. And when Trump was drilling here, we were the largest oil exporter in the world. And now we're not.
And
I don't understand why they're so against using our resources.
And I've heard that said. I've heard people say Biden has stopped us from drilling. And I can hear how that would make people angry at Biden. But U.S. oil output has gone up, much to the disheartened. I don't know what the word is. Much to the sadness, whatever. The left was not happy with the fact that drilling has gone up under Biden. He, I think, finalized the, stopping of the Keystone Pipeline, but that wasn't export that was happening anyway. That was like future oil. So, and the whole thing about, it going down under him, when we were just talking about the pandemic, people stopped drilling under Trump, not because Trump told them to stop, but because prices were so low. And then when the pandemic ends, a little soft ending, I don't know if there was a date, but people started traveling and going out and using a lot of gas.
When people realized that COVID was a scam.
There we go. The big hoax was revealed, as the right would say. Then, demand went up. And along with demand going up, prices went up. And along with prices going up, supply started to go up because the company said, let's drill again and let's take advantage of some of this. And that's partially why drilling has gone up under Biden. But the saying that drilling has gone down under Biden, and when they knock him over the head about stopping all of our oil exports, that's just not true. It's, but they keep hitting him with it. And I mean, I can see it upsets people. It would upset you. I don't know that it would upset me. No. As long as gas didn't get like over $20 a gallon, you know, that's where I draw the line. You know, I don't know if you know what we're paying out here in California, but actually, this is a good little bit. We could go into Hannity and Gavin Newsom had a little discussion after the latest Republican debate. Newsom was, it was at the Ronald Reagan Library here in California. Carl, do you like Ronald Reagan?
I do.
Okay, good. Reagan Republican here is my co-host. He'll talk trash about George W., but he's still down with Reagan.
I liked Reagan.
Okay.
I was so understand the inner workings of why everybody hated Reagan.
We can have an episode on Reagan. I'm going to say compared to other presidents since, I'll take Reagan over other presidents since. I think HW would be my favorite Republican president in my lifetime. I was born the day that Reagan was inaugurated the first time. And I'm going to go
with W as my favorite.
Okay. Good president.
He was entertaining.
Okay. There's two factors. Entertainment value, of which Trump would be pretty high. So I'm going to tell you, if we're ranking on favorite based on entertainment value and not the good of the country, then yeah, W and Trump might be up there. But for me, Republican presidents who I think did a good job as president, George H.W. Bush is top of the list for me. Do you have a favorite Democratic president?
Of all time?
No, just of our lifetime. Yeah.
Clinton,
Bill. Yeah. I mean, that was a rocking economy, man. That was the last time we saw a budget surplus, a national budget surplus. People talk about paying off the debt. Bill's like, I got this.
Bill was a very good president. Again, he was not as abrasive, but he's a shitty human being, but he was a good president.
I would say he was a bad husband.
Sure.
But even then, Hillary said, when they asked her, like, why didn't you divorce him? And she said, he's one of the most interesting people I've ever been with. Like, why would I want to leave this person? And I understand that like relationships can be complicated and couples deal with cheating.
What do I have to lose if I do divorce him? Because in that day and age, like if that happened today and she divorced him, Hillary would be a god. But in that era, she'd have just been, Bill would have went on with his life and, you know, finished out his presidency, and Hillary would have been an afterthought.
I do wonder if now she might have felt pressured more to leave him, because in the 90s, in the late 90s, I mean, it wasn't like it was another time, but there was more of the attitude of, you know, if you can fix it, stay together and make it work. And today there might be less.
Idea.
I'm not going to tell a couple how to do it, but I mean, if there's cheating in the relationship, is that definitely mean you have to end things? I don't know. I'm not going to tell people how to.
You want my relationship advice?
Yes, please. This also, audience, call in because we will give you relationship advice.
Here is my relationship advice, and I think it's great relationship advice. If there's something going on, like you just said, cheating in a relationship, don't let outside sources influence your decision. Keep your problems between you and your spouse. Don't let your parents or their parents or your best friend or your sister or your brother or anybody. I understand you need an outlet to talk to people, but don't let their opinion on things influence your life decisions. And if you know you can work it out and you can be happy, then do it. Who gives a damn what the rest of the world says? If they're not in that relationship on a daily basis, it's none of their damn business. That's my relationship advice. Keep it in-house.
There you go. I mean, it's kind of hard to do when you're in the White House, but that was a national news story.
JFK did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, I wonder if JFK how he would have fared with social media and 24-hour news networks following his every move. One 24-hour news network specifically designed to bring down his party.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same party then, though.
JFK, that was an interesting time for the Democratic Party.
They were more conservative.
They were split, but they kind of hid. They didn't hide that split. They just didn't address it because we still had the Southern Democrats, the Dixiecrats.
Right.
And then we had the Northeastern Democratic Party that you kind of know today. And they just didn't address basically the rights of minorities, like voting rights, going to school, should blacks and whites be able to go to school together, all of those things. Don't touch it, and we can keep the party together. And JFK said, well, at the urging of Martin Luther King and others, said,
and
you know what?
So.
Yeah, like, I get it. You're telling us to just take things a little slower. Wait, don't rock the boat, which I hear today with a lot of issues. We say, in our lifetime, gay rights, gay marriage, a lot of times people would say, hey, I don't understand why you have to move so fast. Don't rock the boat. This will take time. Eventually the country will get there. And people like Martin Luther King back then, were saying, yeah, but this is my life. This is in my lifetime. You're telling me I don't get to have equal rights that maybe my grandkids will.
Right. And it goes to like this whole going green. Everybody's like, well, don't you want your great grandkids to? I don't give a shit what my great grandkids have. I'm living now. I won't be alive then. I don't care.
This is a funny, in one sense, they're talking about doing the right thing for the next generation, but also doing it now, and that they should have equal rights now and make that change. You're saying, I don't want to make the change.
No, I'm saying make the change.
Oh, okay.
Make the change. I don't give two shits about the future that I'm like 200 years from now. I don't care.
Because some people are saying, I don't care about the future. That's why I want to keep driving the same vehicle, using the same amount of carbon, screw the grandkids. But you're like, let's go green.
Oh, either way you look at it. Yeah, I see where I just contradicted myself.
I didn't want to paint you in a box and misinterpret what you were saying.
Yeah, well, that's just my moronic moment.
All right. So I do have a little clip here of our governor here in the state of California on the Sean Hannity show. One of our favorite hosts, longtime Fox News hosts, and they're having a little back and forth. And I feel like it might be an interesting conversation for us to chime in on. If you want me to pause it, Carl, you just let me know.
I'll give you the thumbs up if I want it paused. Yeah,
or give me a wave or whatever. I'll pause liberally. You pause conservatively, and I thought it brings up some interesting points. Okay, and also let me know if you don't hear it, because that could also be an issue.
Okay.
And we dominate.
Wait, hold on. I got a screen share with you. We've done this before.
I can really have. Clear, by the way.
What's that?
I said I can hear it loud and clear, by the way.
Oh, great. Okay.
Innovation and entrepreneurial
And who
spirit.
pays for housing, food, clothing, education, healthcare? Who pays for that?
We had a $177.7 billion operating surplus over 2 fiscal years, and I just did an $18.5 billion tax rebate, the largest in American history, as we expanded universal health care, and we're providing more services, including, by the way, health insurance, which Ron DeSantis apparently wasn't even aware of the question.
Okay, you saved that for the debate with Ron.
So you already said you're not a huge fan of Ron DeSantis.
Correct.
Ron, he knows his campaign's in trouble, so he's doing multiple things. He's going on liberal shows. I didn't watch it, but he was on Bill Maher's show on Friday. And if you want to call Bill Maher a liberal, he's ousted by the Democratic Party half the time too for being too independent. But Gavin's going to debate him in a month or two. Why? I mean, neither one of them are. Gavin's not running for president, and Ron all but is out of the running. It just seems like his campaign keeps sinking. What do you think about the idea of those two having a debate?
I think it's going to be extremely entertaining. You're going to have East Coast versus West Coast, two states that everybody makes fun of on a daily basis. You're going to have their leaders going at it. It's going to be great. This should be a pay-per-view event.
That's one that I would love to cover, because unlike the Republican primary, where I think they're just, and you kind of spoke to it, they're kind of throwing mud at each other. And there's just back and forth. And honestly, why are all of these people having a debate when none of them are even close to being the front runner? The front runner's not there, and that's because the front runner has no interest in debating all the rest of these people if he doesn't have to. So yeah, let's pencil in Gavin versus Ron in the octagon. Okay. Because California gets so much trash, I think that's why Gavin decided to come by. The Ronald Reagan Library is where they hosted the second debate. So Gavin was just north of LA, where the Ronald Reagan Library is, getting interviewed here on Fox News with Sean Hannity.
This is the next thing. So I come into your state.
Yes, sir.
First thing I love to do.
What?
Is bring money to your economy.
I appreciate it.
I go straight to In-N-Out Burger. That is one of the greatest things of your state.
Legit.
Including.
I know that's going to piss you off, Carl, because you like Whataburger.
Right.
In-N-Out's pretty great, though.
No.
Can you understand that Texas's love of Whataburger is like our love for In-N-Out, and just
I get it.
We can respect each other's burger franchises?
I think the real question here is, which one do you prefer? You've lived in both states. Come on.
You can't get me there, Carl.
Depends on what your definition of is.
I'll go to the Habit Grill. I don't know where they're from, but honestly, that's a pretty solid burger for the money.
There you go.
They're all great. All right.
The weather, including the terrain, is phenomenal.
You can keep going, but yes.
It's all phenomenal. However, then I'm passing gas station after gas station and gas station.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're right.
Excuse me.
Gouging us. The oil companies are screwing us.
$4 a gallon in every other state.
Yeah.
$7 I saw here. Why is your state nearly twice as much?
As of today, I monitor this very closely. I just did a special session. We became the first state in the country to do price gouging legislation with a new monitor. Just went into effect. These oil companies are ripping us off. $2.
They're only ripping off California, though?
$2.06. This mystery surcharge that they've been advancing for years and years.
But the average around the country is $4, and I saw anywhere between $6.50 and $7.
$2.06 higher. You're absolutely right.
No, your state is much more than every other state.
Exactly. $2
Why?
higher. Because
I love how it's like, it's higher. I know it's higher. This is why it's higher. Yeah, but it's higher.
But and I get both arguments here. I agree with Governor Newsom. There needs to be more regulation on these oil companies. But a large part of the price of gas are taxes, and that's on your state. So,
and that's what he does get to, because I think what Sean is hinting at is the price is so high because you tax it so much.
Right.
And that's what, of course, Gavin says, let me speak to that.
they're screwing us. There's no justification.
It's not regulation, taxation?
Yes, 85 cents. 85 cents, low carbon fuel standard.
How much does California get per gallon for gasoline tax?
When you add the gas tax, you add cap and trade, and you add the low carbon fuel standards, and then periodically add, and I'm being as transparent as I can be, and you add our unique blend, you get a differential around 85 cents. That you can justify, not $2.06. That's where the oil companies.
What do you think?
Bingo. So their unique blend, because everything has to be so much cleaner in California. It costs more to get that gasoline that clean.
And
so there's a reason our diesel trucks have to have that. You have a DEF system in it now to help with emissions. It's because it started in California, and there for a few years, that's the only place you had to worry about it. Now you can bypass that whole DEF system, which is technically illegal, but you're looking at, if you have a diesel pickup, you're spending over $4 a gallon of gas here in Texas. If regular unleaded gasoline is $7 a gallon there in California, I can only imagine what diesel costs. And then every time you fill up, or every other time you fill up, you've got to spend an additional $25 to $30 on this emissions exhaust fluid to help with your emissions. So a lot of it, and it's not his fault because it was done prior to him being in office. So a lot of it, yes, I can see where Hannity's going after California.
But I think if I'm hearing Newsom right, he's saying that when you factor in all of those things, including the special blend, it adds a cost of 85 cents per gallon to gas in California. Insane.
You remember, Scott, when we were in high school, gas was 85 cents a gallon.
When we were in high school, a lot of things were under $1. Prices go up, and the older we get, the more we fondly look back at the prices when we were younger. But I doubt we're going to see dollar gasoline anytime in the future.
I don't think we'll ever see under $2.
Or $2 or whatever. But he's saying 85 cents. And to me, 85 cents a gallon, yeah, it's not nothing. But it's definitely not the price differential between California prices and other states' prices. And so when we look at California at 7 and others, 6 or 7 or whatever, and other states
right now here in San Angelo, it is $3.20. At the highest I've seen, $3.29 a gallon.
Yeah, that's a lot more than an 85 cent difference.
Yes.
So why is that? Is it that the market just happens to mean you can charge more in California and people will pay it? Why charge so much in California if it's not the taxes?
Well, and I'd have to go back and do research on it, but we were young when 9/11 happened, and I remember when it happened, and you go to any gas station. I was living in Brownwood, which is population 20,000 people, so small town. But you go to any gas station to get gas because there was a scare that there was going to be a fuel shortage. And I mean, there were like 30 cars deep at each pump waiting to get gas. And then watching the news, you would see where these gas station owners were price gouging on their gas. And I remember W talked about price gouging. And if they find anybody price gouging, they would come down on them. And it kind of put a stop to it. But I don't know if that was just a temporary thing or if it was. And I don't necessarily think it's the gas stations. It starts with the oil companies, but it also starts with the taxes on it.
Yeah, I mean, you charge what you can charge, I guess. And if you have a monopoly, you're able, or if you work with other companies, because ideally in capitalism and free markets, if you're charging too much for gasoline, there should be a station across the street that charges less. And then you have to lower your price.
Where do you draw the line, though? Because you look at a pair of Ray-Bans. Okay, I'm going to go spend $200 on a pair of polarized Ray-Bans. I can get the same pair of polarized shades that aren't Ray-Bans, that don't have that little name on it, for $30. So where's the line?
Now you're speaking Scott's language.
Is Ray-Ban, are they price gouging? No, it's because you're buying a name, but where do you draw the line on that as far as like with gas? And
if there was super duper gas or whatever, like A++ gasoline opens up and they say, we're the Ray-Bans of gasoline, and they open up a station that is twice as expensive as all the other gas, I don't think it's going to do as well, because Ray-Bans are something you wear to show that you can spend $200 on a pair of sunglasses. The gasoline that's in your car, unless it is super unleaded or whatever your high-speed hot rod needs to run on, it's invisible and nobody knows if you put the cheap stuff in there or not. So why would you spend twice as much money on the same gasoline?
Right.
I got to ask you though, Carl, I mean, on a side tangent, what is it about Ray-Bans that makes you spend that? I am the opposite. I don't ever lean towards the name brand of something that is so expensive. And I almost go against it. Even if I see it at a super discount, I almost don't want to buy it.
I have a pair of Ray-Bans that I wear a lot. And I have a pair of Maui's that I wear a lot. And the Maui's are twice as expensive as my Ray-Bans were.
Ooh.
I like them. I think it's kind of what you just described, is being able to show I can spend, I have the money to spend on it. I don't want to say showboating, but that's exactly what it is. The same thing as when we were kids, we had to have the newest Jordans that came out, or we had to wear the Jabot pants or the Silver Tab Levi's or the Doc Marten boots. And if there was a knockoff, then everybody knew it was a knockoff. And you weren't cool if you had the knockoff. So I guess in that sense, it started with me back in, middle school. And then I'm still trying to be cool.
I get it. I bought a pair of Silver Tabs for that reason, because other people were wearing them. Yeah. And at a certain point, I thought, I don't know if I like my pants this baggy, but everybody else is wearing them, so I have to.
Yeah. This day and age, no.
Well, now it's almost the opposite. I'll find myself saying, if somebody says, "Hey, nice shirt," or whatever, I find myself saying, "Yeah, I got it at Goodwill for $3." Or so. It's almost like, yeah, but there was a deal. Like, that's the badge of honor. And it's the same thing though. It's me bragging the same way that I'm like, look at this logo of this expensive shirt. Sure. It's me saying, look at my experience. I got a really good deal because I'm a really smart shopper.
Well, I'm not going to give the name of this deal that Marissa and I started, because that's free advertising. But it's kind of like one of those mail order deals where you get on their little app and you tell them what your style is, and they just send you a box of stuff. So the other day they sent me, of course, I'm going to have to get back on there and tell them, I live in Texas. It's not cold. Because they sent me this heavy duty jacket, real nice jacket, wool lining. I mean, great. But I'm like, okay, I can get to wear this for a week and maybe in February.
It gets cold in Texas, Carl. Don't pretend.
Yeah, not in September. Been there. Not in September.
It's called getting ready for winter time.
But then they sent me 2 long sleeve shirts, hooded shirts, real nice, good fit, a nice thick flannel shirt, a pair of jeans, and a belt. And I got all of that for $250.
Okay, we're looking at our first sponsor. I sure hope they can give us some money. So we would love to tell the audience about this great deal.
They do a good job at styling stuff together, and they take your opinion on it. I just got to let them know, which is weird, because when I put on there, I'm like, polos, short sleeve shirts, short sleeve button ups, t-shirts, graphic tees, and I get nothing but winter clothes.
They said, we know what he likes. We know what he needs. We know what he likes, but we also know what he needs, and we're going to make the change for him.
I'll send you an invitation, and maybe you can join. And if you join, it gives us both a discount.
There we go.
And then they're representing both of them, or we're representing them. They have to represent us. It's in the Geneva Convention.
And we'll wear it on the air.
That's right. I'm wearing their jeans right now.
I'm glad.
And they're stretchy.
All right. Continuing on with Fox News versus California.
You should be $1 more a gallon.
If you want to trust the oil companies, I can assure you, these guys don't have your back or the American public.
Let me tell you something. When Donald Trump was president, gasoline prices nationwide never averaged $3 a gallon. Never once averaged.
We didn't have Saudi pulling back another 1 million barrels. We didn't have OPEC Plus screwing us. We didn't have a war in Ukraine. We weren't going through. No, we weren't also going through this COVID supply chain reality. And so there was a lot of competing factors that led.
I'll tell you, I hear that all the time in my line of business. I'm selling solar panels. People come up to me and talk about how It's funny how when I tell them about solar panels, they want to talk about how Biden ruined the economy. You just get certain customers, and I know immediately they're not into solar panels, but they know that here's somebody I can I can try and debate with. And they bring up that we don't export as much energy. They say, I say, yeah, let's put solar on your house so we can power your house. Aren't these electric prices getting so high? And they're like, yeah, the electric prices are so high because of Biden, and he stopped all the drilling and we can't use gas anymore. And I'm like, when I'm in my sales mode, I say, well, that's why maybe you should generate your own power using the free sunshine. Sunshine never goes up in price. But they want to talk about how energy prices are so high because we stopped producing energy. Is this something you hear, Carl?
All the time. But his excuses, the COVID supply chain I got for a little while, but they use that excuse for everything. Some shit that don't even make sense. Like, why are you out of Dr. Pepper? COVID supply chain. This is Texas. This is where Dr. Pepper is from. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. The war in Ukraine. We need to get the hell out of that damn war in Ukraine. It has nothing to do with this. Just stop sending them money, use our own damn oil, and then don't worry about the oil that they cut them off, both sides, screw them, or just bomb the shit out of both countries and just get it over with. I'm tired of Ukraine. Maybe we should have their president run for office over here, because shit, our media interviews him. I mean, he's more worried about getting on American news television than he is his own damn country.
Well, with Ukraine is a whole other bag of worms.
We'll touch on that next week.
Yeah, maybe we'll do some Ukraine. I do think there's an interest in funding an adversary of our adversary versus us fighting Russia directly. Like, we're not in Ukraine. Thank God. We're not in Ukraine the way we were in Afghanistan and we were in Iraq. This is where we get to send some weapons that we haven't been using. And I don't know. Yes, it's costing us a lot of money, but I think of maybe it's a bargain when it's the Ukrainians fighting instead of us. But I digress. We're talking about energy and why you all need to go solar. This show is sponsored by Sunrun Solar. You can find in the show notes, email Scott your electric bill. He'll set you up with a solar consultation, and we will help you save some money on the electric bill. Shine Forward, sponsored by Sunrun.
I will say, Scott, eventually in a few years when we decide to build a house, we're going solar.
I told you, build that house with a south-facing roof. Big, unobstructed, south-facing roof. Capture all that sunlight. Get a nice battery. I don't know that I can give you a discount. I can try, though.
That's all right.
All right. Let's finish this.
Led to some of this.
By the way, he also adopted. Wait a minute. He made the country energy independent for the first time in 75 years.
We are more energy dependent today. Look that up. It's a fact. And if you
okay, this is interesting because I think Carl and we don't speak over each other, but also we don't. This isn't like a debate format, but this is one where they're getting excited and they start talking over each other, and I appreciate that we don't do that.
It's called respect.
I respect you, Carl.
I respect you, Scott, and your boundaries.
No, it's just factually untrue.
Joe Biden is unilaterally disarmed.
I want to encourage the people watching. Look this up. 5.94 quads. Google 9.5.
Look at all the restrictions Joe Biden
quads.
has put
we
on
are more
oil
energy
and gas companies.
Independent today under Biden. Pence doesn't know that. Your audience doesn't know that. More domestic oil production than any time in history. We're on pace this year.
Is that something that the audience of Fox has not heard?
Probably not.
I mean, is that news to you?
A little bit, but I don't want to say yes for me because I do, like we've talked before, I follow it more to where I do my own homework.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you just have Trump up here saying this, well, yeah, you're going to have all of his followers. That's it. Trump said it. That's the way it is. And they're never going to hear that other aspect of it.
So if we're on pace to have more domestic oil production than at any time prior to this year,
Well, but we need to use it.
right? Don't sell it, because they're talking about net export.
Sell it and not just put it in the reserve and save it for a rainy day. We need to use it. That's what I think will drive down the price of gas.
Now, is the price of gas driving it down? Yes, it would save people money. That's a tough one. It's like, what should the price be? Like how?
I'd be happy with $2.50.
$2.50
at this point. I mean, that's $1 cheaper. I mean, we've got our cars, I think, I don't know how many gallons it is. When we first bought it, it's just a little hybrid SUV. You're looking at like $25, $30 to fill it up. And now it's upwards of 55 to 60.
So that's more of like, let's write the oil companies a letter that says lower prices, please. Because, the president can increase, try to increase gas.
Let's regulate the oil companies.
Yeah, regulate them. But when we're producing more oil than at any point before, then, why is the high gas price on Biden, I guess, is my question, as opposed to
the same reason it's on any other president that's in office when gas prices are high, or when they're crediting another president when they're low. They're a scapegoat. They're a figurehead. They're the person in office. That's the person we can blame, and it's going to make sense because there's 50 million Americans that don't like this guy. So let's run with this, and it's all political. The oil companies want people in there that benefit them, which are on the right side. So they're going to run with it and sell it that it's Biden's fault.
It works
every time.
And if you fact check them and you say they're wrong,
if it's not broke, don't fix it.
If you try and fact check, if you say that's not true, they say, well, see, you're attacking him, and you're attacking him because he's right. You're trying to silence him. And I don't know where you how to win that.
That's a fact. Right. You guys keep making that up.
No, we don't make it up.
You're making it up.
We're energy independent, and now we're not.
We are energy independent.
No, we're not.
Energy exporters.
We are not.
Sean, this is going to be so much fun when this gets PolitiFact tomorrow.
Go there. Look at all the other restrictions.
5.94 quads. That's the margin. It's the highest margin of net energy export in America's history under the Biden administration.
Right. I did have a little fun.
You see? Much more relaxed and easygoing on the Scott and Carl show.
That's right.
But I do like seeing some other people who actually will stand up for issues and talk about facts and figures. And that's why I appreciate about these two in that little meetup. Anything else on production? That sort of gets into the Biden record versus Trump's record, which is kind of what a lot of those Republican primary candidates are running on.
No, I think we're good. I think let's do a quick sports talk and call it a day.
It's a big Texas OU weekend.
Red River rivalry, baby.
I want to play the Eyes of Texas or something in the background. If I had sound effects, I would.
Hold on. I don't know how well it's going to sound, but by God, I'll play it.
You have it easily accessible.
Yes,
Carl and I, both coming from Texas, love our University of Texas Longhorns. And nope, not coming across for whatever reason. Zoom.
No, it said music playing, but
Oh, okay.
And it was the University of Texas Longhorn Band's version.
It was probably going to flag our episode for copyright infringement anyway, because of whoever played it. Even the Longhorn Band would sue us. Well, the Longhorns, for those of you who have not been following college football, are 5-0, have ranked third in the country. And looking like the real deal.
Defensively, yes. Offensively, I think this past week against Kansas, they improved. They relied on the running game more, which is what I wanted against Wyoming because that was a scary game. Which not take anything away from Wyoming. Wyoming's a good ball club. They beat the idiots from Lubbock.
Every one of the teams they played this year, I think, is a better team than you would have expected them to be. Even Rice beat Houston in the Battle of Houston Bowl or whatever. Yeah. Who else did they play? Well, Alabama, obviously. Kansas was undefeated coming in. Wyoming was undefeated coming in, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they played some good teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Does this look okay? You look great, bud.
So,
yes.
In related news, I feel like you have turned someone in the household over to appreciating the Texas Longhorns a little bit more than previously. Tell me about that work that you put in.
Let her tell you about that. Yeah.
Y'all are done, right?
No, we're recording.
No, this is live. This is for all the fans to hear. A Texas Aggie saying, you know what? The T-sips are okay.
Well, my husband is so tied into the Longhorns that if they lose, I don't get laid. So I learned to cheer for them.
All right. Whatever it takes. Right. I'm sure any relationship expert would say holding out sex when your sports team loses to make your spouse a fan perfectly. Yeah.
She says she knows which direction my mood's going to be in for that week following a Texas game, so she just learned to cheer for them, which I appreciate.
That was one of the earliest times that I could really identify my emotions, or at least acknowledge that when I had a mood, I could trace it back to Texas losing, and I would think oh, I am feeling a little depressed today, and yes. It's because, I noticed that it started yesterday, right after Texas lost to Baylor of all schools. When. I remember when they lost to Baylor one year, and I was like,
I love that Baylor's having a horrible year. Love it.
Oh, yeah.
But now I need to look into it and see what the actual line is. But I did read something earlier that said we were underdogs this week. I'm like, how?
No, I think we are 7-point favorite. No, 4.5 point favorites.
Here's my pregame analysis. Oklahoma has given up a lot of passing yards against teams that aren't really any good. So now you've got, hopefully Sanders comes back. I haven't heard anything on his injury, so hopefully he plays. But still, you've got 3 threats at wide receiver. If you count Whittington, there's 4. Brooks is having a phenomenal year running the ball.
I mean, we talked about
third in the country in rushing. Let's quit saying Quinn Ewers for Heisman and let's start pushing Brooks for the Heisman.
My thoughts exactly. I remember that one year when Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush went to the Heisman ceremony, and I thought, why not Quinn and Jonathan?
Yes. So I think it could be a very. I think this is our biggest test the rest of the way. And I think regardless of what happens this week, God forbid we lose this game, we'll see Oklahoma again in the Big 12 championship. And because we have that win over Alabama, we can afford to drop a game now.
Yeah, I don't want to, but if you're gonna lose a game, this would be the one.
Right.
To lose and not drop too far, and it wouldn't look too bad.
Right.
I really don't want us to overlook Oklahoma, but like you said, they've played a lot of lesser opponents.
They have. Well, what worries me more than OU is the Tech and Oklahoma State game. Oklahoma State seems to have our number. And even in the Vince Young McCoy years, you're looking at being down by 28 at the half and having to come back and win.
Do you remember in our national title year in 2005, it was Kansas that came the closest to knocking us off. It was a tough game in Ohio State also, but Kansas had us at a 4th and 20, 4th and 27 or so. this insane play where if we didn't convert on 4th and 20, we were going to lose that game and we would not be going to the national championship game. There were no playoffs. It was, you need to be one of the top 2 teams in the country. And Vince Young ran for about 30 yards, probably a touchdown too.
It's because we had Vince.
Yeah. We still have Vince. He's on the coaching staff now.
I know. I just wish he'd have played one more year.
I wish he could have played longer in the NFL.
Well, he had a shitty situation.
He did. And I will never again root for Jeff. What's that guy? Jeff Fisher.
Nope. I liked Fisher up until that.
Yeah,
but he broke Vince Young.
He was also the Rams coach after that, and I refused to root for the Rams as long as he was the coach.
I would refuse to root for the Rams now.
Well, it's weird. I thought they were taking the year off because they got rid of all of these great players. And I loved the Super Bowl run. We talked about that. They kind of made an attempt last year that was pretty embarrassing. Then they said, okay, let's just get rid of everybody and we're going to take a year off. And they're somehow 500, like they're winning games. It looks like they're actually trying.
Yeah.
I don't know what the Rams are up to.
And I don't know if y'all hear this out there, but I hear it here all the time. And I think I'm just going to finally concede and give into it. This is the Cowboys' year.
The Cowboys look very good. I know my Cowboys fan friends are very excited this year. I think we're going to know a lot more about the Cowboys after they run into San Francisco this weekend.
Which Jerry Jones come out and said the Super Bowl runs through the 49ers.
In the NFC, it runs through Philadelphia. But of course, he doesn't want to say that because Philadelphia is your bitter rival, right?
Apparently, I don't know. I'm a Packers fan. Cheesehead.
How are the Packers doing?
Well, obviously we don't have Aaron Rodgers. I think Jordan Love has played pretty well.
Well, nobody has Aaron Rodgers now.
That's true. I think Love has done a good job at filling in. I think they did the right thing with him, which is the same thing they did with Rodgers. You know, Rodgers sat 3 years behind Favre before he came in. Here's my deal. If Love turns out to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, how blessed are the Green Bay Packers? For the last 35 years, you know, considering Love has this huge, long career, you had 3 consecutive Hall of Fame quarterbacks. That's insane. There's like no downfall. And Love's looking like the real deal. I don't want to give him the credit saying he's a Hall of Famer yet, but he hasn't disappointed me.
Like so many others.
Correct.
Carl is easy to disappoint.
I am. That's true.
He's a tough audience, even on this podcast sometimes. If I don't bring 100%,
I need 110% every time you step up to the plate, Scott.
You will call me out.
Speaking of stepping up to the plate.
Is it dinner time? Is that a dinner pun?
Yeah, did you get my text?
No, I turned my phone off for these recordings.
Oh, well.
Are we winding down?
We're winding down.
All right. Well, we've kept this audience long enough, and we've kept
World Series predictions. That's where I was actually going with the dinner plate.
Oh, okay.
Up to the plate.
What's the prediction? Because you know I'm rooting for the Dodgers now that I know that
I'm rooting for the Rangers. I want the Rangers in the AL. But I'm going to go and say I would love to see your Dodgers in there. I really would. I think it's going to be the Braves. I just think they're the more complete team in the National League.
No offense taken.
And the surprise pick, which I think is the surprise team in all of Major League Baseball this year,
is that there's going to be a third team in the World Series. This will be a first.
Yes.
So the Braves versus the Rangers versus who?
No, I said I'm rooting for the Rangers. I don't think the Rangers are going to get there.
Oh.
Because I think it's going to be the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay.
Which I would like to see that. I've never seen them. I mean, they played in the World Series in the 80s, I think.
There's been a long dry spell for the Baltimore Orioles. The only reason I remember ever caring about them growing up was that they had Cal Ripken, who played in so many consecutive games.
That record will stand for all of history.
and consecutively did not make the World Series
I think they made
for all of those years.
I don't know. I can't remember. But I think that'll cover it for my sports talk. I'm going with Braves and the Orioles.
All right. And I think we can, since Marissa's rooting for the Longhorns now, let's say for selfish reasons, but we'll take it. We can root for the Aggies against Alabama.
Oh, absolutely. But you remember that selfish society that I talked about?
That's right.
Point in case right there.
We are all a symptom of our society.
The 2005 year when Texas played in the national championship, I was living in Brownwood, and they had two kids from Brownwood that played for A&M on the morning radio show. And they did it right. They asked them, being from Texas, are y'all rooting for Texas? And they said, hell no. We hate Texas.
So they were rooting for Southern California.
So, I give kudos to them. They stood their ground. They stuck to their guns. But yes, I will never root for Alabama. So is that who A&M plays this week?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
that's two great games this week.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
They could turn that season around. Otherwise, Jimbo's on the hot seat, the hottest of seats.
He should have been on the hot seat the last 2 years. He's a horrible coach.
I feel like every year he's turning the seat warmer up like one more degree, like in the car where there's 3 settings. And it's like, how cold is your butt? You need it just 1? No, I need a little bit more. Well, now it's about to go to 3 if he doesn't knock off Alabama, which is no easy chore.
No, it's not.
But they're playing in Kyle Field, aren't they?
Yes, that's right. It is.
Okay, so that should help them out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening to Carl and I jabber on about what's happening around the country and our thoughts on it from our unique perspectives. We won't say politically divided, even though the background that I chose on YouTube is very much a blue and red divide. But you know what? You got to play with these things.
Been better if you'd had a University of Texas logo back there.
Well, maybe if you got enough logos for us. If we get a budget, who knows? Maybe we'll get some graphic designers. Until then, all you have is me.
I like it, and I'll take it, and I'll work on some budget financiers.
All right. Until then, everybody, this is Scott and Carl signing off.
Hook 'em.
Hook 'em.